These are 5.6 million American households completely locked out of the banking system, and another 19 million barely hanging on at the edges of it. When businesses stop accepting cash, these families cannot buy groceries, cannot grab a coffee, cannot participate in basic commerce. What we are looking at today is who actually gets hurt when America moves toward a cashless economy. The answer goes beyond convenience, because this is really about who gets to participate in society and who gets shut out entirely. According to the FDIC 2023 survey, 4.2% of American households have no bank account at all, and another 14.2% fall into what is called underbanked, meaning they have an account but still depend on check cashers and payday lenders to get by. When you break down who makes up these unbanked households, income turns out to be the strongest predictor. Among households earning less than $15,000 a year, nearly 22% have no bank account, while families earning $75,000 or more sit at less than 1%. Racial disparities run just as deep. Black households face an unbanked rate of 10.6%. Hispanic households come in at 9.5%, and white households sit at just 1.9%, which means Black and Hispanic Americans are more than 5 times as likely to lack bank accounts. When researchers asked people why they do not have bank accounts, over 42% said they simply do not have enough money to meet minimum balance requirements. These are not people choosing to opt out. The system has excluded them. Here is the cruel irony of being poor in America. Being broke costs more money. Economists call it the poverty premium, referring to the extra fees people outside the banking system pay just to touch their own money. Check cashing services charge anywhere from 1% to 12% of a check's value. A worker receiving 50 paychecks of $320 over a year hands over roughly $375 in fees, and that is just to access money they already earned. Those pandemic stimulus checks revealed the problem in sharp relief, with Detroit area check cashing stores charging $60 to $100 in fees to cash a $1,400 stimulus check. The Brookings Institution calculated that over a working lifetime, an unbanked individual can pay up to $40,000 in check cashing fees alone. When you add up all the alternative financial service fees together, low-income households spend approximately 7% of their annual income on basic financial transactions, while high earners pay about 0.2%, nearly 35 times as much. One group that often disappears from discussions about digital payments is older Americans. Smartphone ownership among adults 65 and older has climbed to 76%, but only 43% have actually adopted mobile banking, compared to 83% of those ages 25 to 49. Among the oldest Americans, smartphone ownership falls to just 17% at age 80 and above. The resistance is not stubbornness. Physical barriers create real accessibility problems that payment apps almost never accommodate. Age-related changes in skin reduce the electrical conductivity that touchscreens need to register a touch, meaning the screen literally will not respond properly for many elderly users. One study found 5.6 million people over 65 struggling with touchscreens due to health barriers including dry skin, physical impairments, and cognitive decline. New York City Councilman Richie Torres, who championed that city's ban on cashless stores, described waiting 10 minutes at a coffee shop before discovering it only accepted digital payments. He called it a humiliating experience and noted that constituents, especially seniors, had repeatedly complained about being turned away. No group faces more severe barriers than homeless Americans, because digital payments require things they simply do not have. Federal law requires a physical address when applying for a bank account, an impossibility for anyone without housing. The Government Accountability Office documented what they called a cruel catch-22, where people need ID to get housing, but need an address to get ID in the first place. The shift away from cash has hit charitable giving directly. One Washington, D.C. panhandler told the Washington Post that he now takes in only half what he once did because fewer people carry cash anymore. The Weingart Center in Los Angeles put it plainly. If our society became completely cashless, people experiencing homelessness would not be able to participate in the economy at all. Rural communities face a double bind where physical banks are disappearing, and the digital infrastructure to replace them does not exist. The Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia found that 12.3 million Americans live in banking deserts, and rural areas are 10 times more likely to qualify as banking deserts than urban areas. The Federal Communications Commission's 2024 broadband report found that 28% of rural Americans lack fixed broadband access, compared to just 7% nationally. When cashless advocates suggest people just use an app, they are ignoring millions of Americans who cannot connect to the internet reliably enough to make that work. Natural disasters expose how fragile digital payment systems actually are. During Hurricane Ida in August 2021, power outages across Louisiana shut down electronic payment systems completely, and cash became the only way to buy anything. The Whole Foods in New Orleans, which normally refused cash, found itself unable to process any transactions at all. Sweden, which had raced toward becoming the world's first cashless society, recently reversed course and sent a pamphlet to all homes advising citizens to keep enough cash for at least 1 week. American cities and states have started recognizing these problems. Philadelphia became the first major U.S. city to ban cashless stores in February 2019, imposing fines up to $2,000 per violation. Councilman Bill Greenlee, who sponsored the bill, put it directly, saying it seemed like a form of discrimination, whether intentional or not. San Francisco's Board of Supervisors voted unanimously to ban cashless stores, with Supervisor Valley Brown stating that for many San Franciscans, a no cash sign is tantamount to a not welcome sign. By 2025, 8 states had passed statewide cash acceptance laws, and major cities including New York City, Washington, D.C., and Detroit enacted local ordinances as well. Cash has declined from 31% of payments in 2016 to just 14% by 2024, but certain groups still depend on it heavily. Adults 55 and older use cash for 22% of their payments, and consumers with household incomes under $50,000 use cash for 28% of payments. Those are not preferences. Those are necessities. Lauren Saunders of the National Consumer Law Center put it bluntly, calling the cashless movement a dangerous movement. Sweden learned this lesson after rushing toward cashless status, discovering that digital crime doubled since 2021. Researchers found that people in poverty-induced cash dependence felt like delinquents, undervalued and locked out of participating in much of daily life. The question here is not whether digital payments are convenient, because they obviously are. The real question is whether convenience for some should come at the cost of excluding millions of Americans from basic commerce. For the elderly woman whose fingers will not register on a touchscreen, for the homeless veteran who cannot provide an address for a bank account, for the rural family without reliable internet, for the low-income worker paying hundreds of dollars just to access their own paycheck. A cashless America is not progress. It is a door slammed shut.